Cape Town, South Africa, Green Point, where we're having a human rights solidarity for the people of Palestine and the global oppressed. Young, old, was forming the human chain.
Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine!
People can move now. People can move.
Everybody can move to the side. On the right side, the program is going to start now. Everybody that's walking and ready on either side, can go to the side, please.
Breaking the silence in the dark of the night. The man did not even try to run. When the sun came up, they were all in prison.
Famous Amina Dolia, just a comment in public.
International Day of Solidarity with Palestine. We stop the genocide, free Congo, free Palestine, free Sudan. Support the apartheid bill that is a legal framework to ensure the international suppression of convention of apartheid is upheld. That anybody exercising apartheid in South Africa or globally, that they are sanctioned, penalized or imprisoned. 3 points is not Tel Aviv. And at the end of the day, we also demand release of all the hostages, women, children, Marwan Barghouti and Dr. Hussam. We also demand a true, genuine ceasefire and aid for the people of Gaza. Free, free Palestine.
Free,
Free, free Palestine.
Thank you. Hold on, so long. Can I just have a comment in a word or two for the people of Palestine and the global oppressed?
On this International Day, this is a call to action. It is a call whereby we are saying that all the political prisoners must be freed. Marwan Barghouti must be freed immediately without any delay. And as South Africans, we are standing together here in solidarity with the Palestinian people from Sea Point to Gaza. And we say an end to the genocide.
Jazakallah khair, Maulana. Haji Sadiq. Khalifa. Assalamualaikum. You have a word for the people of Palestine, for the global oppressed in public? You have a word for the people of Palestine and the global oppressed?
We stand with you wholeheartedly. We make dua and Allah Ta'ala will grant victory for everyone.
No, free.
Amen.
Yeah, we got the famous Haji Abdul Rahman. He's going to give you one of the short ones quickly.
I'm not from Palestine, but here I stand. My eyes telling 1,000 stories about a land of hope, a land of courage, a land where one child is braver than 1,000 men. I'm not from Palestine and the world is blind. They don't even want to open their eyes or take a stand. Can they hear the children cries or the bombs that are raining down from the skies? I know they do, but all they do is justify their crimes. I'm not from Palestine, but I know that soon, very soon, Palestine will be free. Takbir! From the river to the sea, Palestine will be
Mr.
free.
Request here from the Al-Quds Foundation. Mr. Request as a word or two.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I'm your brother Abu Bakr from Yusuf Al-Quds. We would like to tell everyone, if you are not in Seapoint now, you are missing out. You are missing out by being part of the liberation of Palestine. You are missing out by standing in solidarity to the Palestinians, and you are missing out for being the voice of the oppressed and the voiceless. So again, people, the least you can do if you're not here, like this post, share this post, share it with your friends and your families. And again, we ask of you to come down. We're still going to be here for the next hour and a half, inshallah. And like you can see, this place is buzzing, Palestinian flags everywhere. Come in your regalia and make a day out of it. Today is a very beautiful day. If you do come a bit too late, it's better late than never. And again, we're enjoying the beauty of the ocean. We're enjoying the beauty of the mountains. So please come out.
Jazakallah khair.
Those people facing charges. It's called running. People running everywhere, bullets spraying wide. Soldiers on their perches, and children run to hide. The walls of life are crumbling down. Their soldiers killing all around. But if they can kill us for freely, how do we survive? This time the running has to stop. This time we rule our lives. It's the beginning of the war we witnessed here. How did all the horrors start? And who began the fear? The liberation war began the day they came to steal this land of ours. But if they can kill us so freely.
Good afternoon, everybody. Assalamu alaikum. What a beautiful day it is to be outside and standing in solidarity with the people of Palestine. Can I ask that everybody who's still standing along the sides come forward to join the rally program? And can I ask that all of the speakers, all the individuals who have been asked to do cultural items, please make their way closer to the stage so we can have a flawless, seamless program. And all of the media, you are welcome to join us in the cordon area so that you can have access to the speakers as well.
All the politicians, they are arguing for peace, talking to briefing their police, to kill off all the children for refusing to obey. Well, the homes of comrades who stands up in their way. The walls of states are now down.
Say free, free Palestine! Free, free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine! Free, free, free Palestine! Say Gaza, Gaza, don't you cry! Say Palestine will never die! Say Gaza, Gaza, don't you cry! Say Palestine will never die! Say free, free Palestine! Free, free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine! Free, free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine! Free, free, free Palestine! Free, free, free Palestine! Say Gaza, Gaza, don't you cry! Gaza, Gaza, don't you cry! Say Palestine will never die! Palestine will never die! Say Palestine will never die! Palestine will never die! Free, free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free, free Palestine! Free, free, free Palestine! Say Sudan, Congo, Palestine! Sudan, Congo, Palestine! And into all genocides! Sudan, Congo, Palestine! And into all genocides! And into all genocides! Say free, free Palestine! Free, free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine! Free, free, free Palestine! From District 6 to Palestine! Forced removals are a crime! From District 6 to Palestine! Forced removals are a crime! From District 6 to Palestine! District 6 to Palestine! Forced removals are a crime! Forced removals is a crime! Free,
Amsterdam.
Palestine!
Are you from?
Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine! From Africa to Palestine! Africa to Palestine! Occupation won't survive! Occupation won't survive! Say occupation won't survive! Occupation won't survive! Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine!
Good afternoon. Before we start off today, we just want to ask that all the transport coordinators that came with the range transport, Geronimo, Andeswa, Sheikh Salih, Rabia, Karen Hendrik, Shahid, Rubaiya, Kashfa, Kumi, Vezo, and Uncle Ishmael, please meet Zaida next to the stage, urgently please. And the Ridwan Khan, we need it urgently at the sound area.
Robert Island, very synonymous to a prisoner, a South African, who spends 27 years in prison, for the liberation of a rogue state then. So we are calling very similar now. The name is actually amazing. The name also starts with the M. This time we call it the freedom of Marwan Barghouti. But at the same time, it's not only him, but many thousands of Palestinians still incarcerated even after ceasefire. There's been exchange of prisoners from both sides. And our question is, why is this man, why are certain people still held behind bars? We want, unconditional. These are freedom fighters. They are resistance fighters.
The International Day of Solidarity with the Palestinian people.
Palestine.
This is not a day that we have decided to come to Cape Town. This is an international day recognized by the United Nations
for free Palestine. So we are here in the hundreds,
but also to call out to international community for not allowing the Palestinian people to have their own sovereign land and sovereign rule. And we are here today to say that we need to free Marwan Barghouti and all Palestinian hostages that are held in Israeli detention.
This is specifically Palestine.
We're going to start off with the program today.
See speakers will add to that Sudan as well. In other countries, very similar. The idea is if we can find a solution to one country, we'll use that template for other countries as well. So currently now, Free Palestine in many other countries still needs assistance. But for now, alhamdulillah, we are calling for Palestine as well as many other countries. All prisoners in the world who have been incarcerated unjustly, we want the freedom for them.
Free Palestine!
I think you said about the template was found. I think the template was already found with the essay
Palestine!
that they were under apartheid.
Sudan, Congo, Palestine!
Now. You agree?
Yeah, absolutely.
The amazing
part is all those freedom fighters now, they're all free today.
Okay, we're going to have a quick change of program. We have Modern Khaliki that's joining us from the anti-apartheid movement. We are South African chapter of an international organization that's coming together to stand against apartheid. As the world stood against South Africa's apartheid, we need solidarity with the entire international community to come together and stand together against apartheid.
The same recipe, we force them, we call international assistance to make sure that these
Good afternoon, people!
Are free, and they become part
Good
of
afternoon, South Africans!
And they can also be part of a
We have gathered here as free South Africans, standing together for a free Palestine. Thank you for coming out here. A few months ago, or rather last year, the global anti-apartheid movement was formed. And then the anti-apartheid movement of South Africa was formed under the leadership of His Excellency Dr. Frank Chikani. Viva Dr. Frank Chikani, viva! He is leading the anti-apartheid movement. Now you would know that in the South African apartheid era,
There were a global anti-apartheid movement. Today, the South African anti-apartheid movement has a huge responsibility. I use this International Day of Solidarity for Palestine and to share with all of you that we depend and rely upon you to be supportive to the anti-apartheid movement in South Africa. We have many leaders, pro-Palestinians, strong leaders, men and women who are standing for a free Palestine on this particular executive committee. And I'm grateful that I also serve on this particular committee. And so I represent today the anti-apartheid movement South Africa. On behalf of our chairperson, Dr. Frank Chikani, we are saying that the International Solidarity Day for Palestine is not an ordinary day on the calendar. It is rather a call to action. It's a call to action for the freedom of the Mandela of the Palestinian people. It's a call to action to the freedom of all the Palestinian prisoners that find themselves in the dungeons of the Zionist occupier. These are the most brutal, the worst form of humanity that a person can witness on the planet Earth. You don't get worse than the Zionists. They don't have the feeling for babies. They don't have feeling for the elderly. They don't have any respect for women. They don't give the damn for the elderly. And therefore, they don't respect international law. We are saying to the International Security Council, you have made a big mistake to have not stopped the United States of America. Because the United States of America cannot be a fair broker. Now Trump is claiming to be the governor of Gaza. What a disgrace. It is a disgrace to humanity. It's a disgrace to the Palestinian people that the United Nations Security Council has voted this particular position of the United States of America. And so as South Africans, we need to rise. We need to be firm. We need to show resilience. We need to show steadfastness. We need to stand for justice and freedom for all the Palestinian people and the political prisoners and those that find themselves in the dungeons of the Zionist occupier. People, Gaza is calling on us to stand united as a global community, as the South African people. Now it is not the time for us to be weak. It's rather a time for us to be strong and firm, dedicated as a South African people, for the people of Palestine, for their freedom and their liberation. We thank the organizers for rallying all of us together here. Thanks a lot to all South Africans for coming out here. Our message is clear. We will stand, we shall stand united for a free Palestine. And in the words of Nelson Mandela, we cannot celebrate our freedom without celebrating the freedom of Palestine. I thank you.
Thank you, Maulana. So next we've got Martin Jansen from the Palestine Solidarity Campaign. He's going to be talking to us about the state of our world, Zionism, apartheid, imperialism, and the various global struggles that we are going through. Because it is all connected and we need to stand with all people under oppression.
Mandla, comrades and friends, I don't come with good news. The world, unfortunately, is getting worse and worse for the majority of people, and especially on the African continent. There's a new colonialism, a scramble for Africa that is destroying many people's lives. So for the DRC, the Democratic Republic of Congo,
for the past 20 years, since 1996 in fact, over 6 million people have been killed, not too far from us, over 6 million. The eastern part of the DRC is not under the control of the government of the DRC. Sudan, with the civil war, 30,000 have already been killed and millions of lives disrupted and destroyed. 150,000 people have lost their lives indirectly because of that civil war. In Libya, some years ago, over 30,000 people were killed in a so-called civil war. In Yemen, with Saudi Arabia's bombardment attacks on Yemen over the previous few years, over 377,000 people were killed by the Saudis. Israel's attacks on the Palestinians in Gaza, as we know, but also in the West Bank. Iran, they've attacked Yemen, Syria, Lebanon, and even an ally in Qatar. Over 100,000 people have been killed. So, question we need to ask, why is there all this killing in these countries? What is it that's driving the forces of destruction and war? Now, a few weeks ago, we learned about the Trump plan, the peace plan, that they call it. But comrades and friends, that peace plan is nothing more than the final solution by the Zionists for the genocide of the Palestinians.
Fuck Trump!
Since 2023, we know what's happened in Gaza, but over 1,000 people have already been killed on the West Bank. Every day, people on the West Bank are evicted from their lands, from their homes, and brutally assaulted by the Zionist forces. So, Israel has also continued bombing Syria as we speak, Lebanon as well, and claimed land. So the notion of a greater Israel is already unfolding, not just in historical Palestinian land, but the neighboring countries as well. Israel is therefore a danger to world peace. And it's doing this in partnership with the USA and other imperialist forces, Britain, France, Germany, and Italy in particular. And as I said, comrades, why is this happening? We need to understand so we can fight it. Since 2008, the system has been experiencing a crisis. And on the part of these Western powers, the major Western capitalist powers of the world, they are driving a colonial project in most countries of the world, in Africa, in Latin America, in the Middle East especially, to secure resources. Oil, gold, minerals that are sought after for modern production, and so on, strategic minerals. And they want it cheaply, and that is why we have these wars. And the unfortunate thing, the tragedy is, they are using local forces, local people to fight each other on their behalf to secure these resources. So for example, in Sudan, we know that the rapid support forces are being supported by the UAE, the United Arab Emirates. So the plunder of minerals and the mass murder in the DRC is about the new scramble for Africa by capitalist powers. And similarly in Sudan, the so-called civil war happening there. So, comrades, we also need to note that Trump is encircling, the US is encircling Venezuela. Warships are in the Caribbean. And there's a real threat to Venezuela and Colombia with an American invasion. And why? Because Venezuela's got the highest reserves of oil. And Trump wants to secure that for the billionaires of the USA. So comrades, therefore our struggle in support of the Palestinians is a struggle that is international, in solidarity with people on the continent and people all over the world who are resisting imperialism. And lastly, comrades, it's also about a struggle here at home, in this very province, in this very city. We are dominated by forces who support the genocide that Israel is carrying out. We know that the DA supports them, and they are part of the same global forces that are oppressing and declaring war and destroying the world. So our opposition to Zionism must also be an opposition here in Cape Town, in the Western Cape. And that is not to say that our ANC government is innocent at all. The ANC government, as part of the government of national unity, is cutting back on social expenditure, making life more difficult for the majority of people. Housing, electricity, water, and so on. The ANC has allowed, or this government of national unity has allowed coal still to be exported to Israel. Exactly. The Israeli ambassador has still not been expelled. Why is it that the government has not declared boycotts, divestment, and sanctions against the Zionist, murderous Zionist state of Israel? So, comrades, we need to keep up the pressure. We need to mobilize. The next rally we have here must be many times more than we have today. Keep up the pressure. Let's organize in our communities, our workplaces, and let's continue the struggle. Aluta continue. Amandla.
Thank you, Martin. This is so important because education doesn't change minds, it changes lives. It is very important that we continue to educate ourselves about the state of our world and that we take that home and see how we can contribute to changing lives. Our next event is going to be Megan from South African Jews for Free Palestine. She's a long-time comrade and always a pleasure to have on stage.
Thank you, everybody. I just need to put my glasses on. My name is Megan. I'm a South African, I'm a Jew, I'm an anti-Zionist. And today I'm going to do something that's more about solidarity than anything else. I've written a poem specifically for the women who have woven the quilt. And it's called Human Chain. We meet at the Homecoming Center, surrounded by squares of red, green, white, black, piles of handmade, heartfelt, pain-etched stitches. I'm there, not good at sewing, better at words than woolworking, to stitch with my clumsy left hand the watermelon squares, the flag squares, the simple squares, the red poppy squares, the heart squares, the squiggly squares. From Claremont, Salt River, Joburg, Woodstock, Maitland, Mitchell's Plain, Athlone, Lansdowne, Rylands, Gatesville, Manenberg, Bonteheerville, Muizenberg, Mowbray, Rondebosch, Rosebank, Saddleburg. Each suburb a square, a stitch in time, a quilt of the heart, a human chain stitch, sewn for meaning. Each square a promise that we will not forget. Every child, every dream lost, every breath stolen, every hand no longer held, every mother's cry, every father's lament, each stitch a piece of our own hope hearts, woven like braids, sails, keffiyehs, tatrees, because we know from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free.
So the next part of our program is focusing on the apartheid bill. We're going to be hearing from political parties that is championing this bill in Parliament soon. And I advise all of you to keep an eye out and give opinion, letting the government know that this is something that the public wants, that we want the government to enforce this apartheid bill and hold people accountable when they support apartheid, whether that be in South Africa, in Israel, or anywhere across the world. So we've got Hanif Hendricks from Al Jamaa, Comrade Marco from the ANC, Mr. Paul from Good, and Paul Nias from the EF. If you can join me on the stage, please.
Khalid.
Free, free Palestine! Free, free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine! Free, free, free Palestine!
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. A very good afternoon to all of you. We have in the audience and on the stage representatives of the African National Congress of the fighters, commonly known as the EFF. We also have other political parties like Good, Rise, Mozanzi, the Pan-African Congress, and we also have on my right-hand side Professor Muhammad Harun, National Chairman of Al Jamaa, who is the son of a martyr, and you all know about Imam Abdullah Harun. And then we also have a former Member of Parliament, now a councillor in the city of Cape Town, Advocate Shamima Sali. As you heard, we are talking about the apartheid punishment bill. South Africa signed the convention against apartheid to join 110 other countries so that apartheid does not rear its head in any part of the world. South Africa will be the first country to implement a very important part of the convention against apartheid, and that is to have an apartheid punishment bill. This bill is needed so that people who support apartheid are punished. So that means if you are involved in any apartheid activity, there must be a law of the country to punish you. So, as you know, this is the first bill that will become an act of parliament, inshallah, that was drawn up by the streets, drawn up by the people under the leadership of the organizers of this event. And they marched to parliament with that bill 3 times. And if you count the number of people that marched, it's over 100,000. So that is a very historic moment because the streets, the people drew up their own bill. And what is even more amazing is that 8 political parties decided, in spite of all their differences, to come together and draft the bill. And some of the best legal minds in the country, former state legal advisors and others put together an apartheid punishment bill. And the 8 political parties invited Advocate Shamima Sali Dolly to present the bill to the Speaker. A round of applause for Advocate Shamima Dolly Sali. Please stand up. So we were guided by 8 political parties. This is not an Al Jamaa bill. This is a bill of the streets. This is the bill of the people. And the 8 political parties, including the major parties like MK, African National Congress, EFF, Al Jamaa is also a main party, and Al Jamaa. We are now guided by Professor Muhammad Harun to make sure that the bill complies with the rules of Parliament. And it's a great pleasure for me to announce that this bill has now been published. The explanatory summary of the main clauses of the bill has been published in the Government Gazette. After it was published in the Government Gazette, which we will show you now, we had inquiries from many of the 110 countries that signed the convention. They want to follow South Africa's example, and they also want to have an apartheid punishment bill. So those who are involved in apartheid activities, which they commit in their country, they must be punished. So people from South Africa, like the Mandela granddaughters, like honorable members of Parliament, who go to Israel and come back and say there's no apartheid as a PR stunt, they will be punished by this bill when it becomes law. Those South Africans who go and fight in support of apartheid in any country of the world, when they come back, we have now criminalized supporting apartheid activities. So there are many other aspects to the Gazette, to the bill. You are quite welcome to go to the Al Jamaa website, to the website of the ANC, the EFF, Raj Bazanchi, MK, and we are waiting for Parliament to hand over the bill that has been cleared by their constitutional committee to show that the bill has constitutional muster, and all those political parties can be approached for a copy of the bill. And the bill will then have a debate in Parliament. And I want to announce that we already have 70% of the 400 honorable members of Parliament supporting this bill. That's a round of applause to the 8 political parties. So Professor Muhammad Harun and Advocate Shamima Sali, we have just printed the front page of the Government Gazette to show that, it has happened. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine! From the river to the sea! Palestine will be free! Amandla! Amandla! Good afternoon, comrades. My name is Notawe Mafu from the National Executive Committee of the African National Congress.
As you all know that the ANC is committed to deepening solidarity for the people of the world and the Palestinians in particular. Because of that, this bill, called the Apartheid Punishment Bill, is a bill that is supported by the African National Congress. We believe in international law and human rights. And because of that, based on the Freedom Charter, where the clause that says there shall be peace and friendship, that is why this bill is very important to us, particularly for the Palestinians. We want to reiterate that no to the genocide that is happening in Gaza, no to the ethnic cleansing that is happening in Gaza, yes to the ICJ ruling that is supporting the implementation at the end of this apartheid bill. We therefore are here as the African National Congress to say no ways we shall sit aside and not be part of the revolution of making sure that this apartheid punishment bill must be implemented. We want to reiterate that as the US right now is trying to punish South Africa with everything that they have in disposal. We want to tell Trump, we want to tell United States of America, we will not be bullied. We will not be bullied by anybody. We want to tell the people of South Africa that the successful G20 that we had just hosted, clause 6 and clause 7 of the declaration reiterates the position of South Africa in terms of making sure that we will not support terrorism in any form. We will make sure that we fight injustice all over the world. And the countries that have been here have supported that declaration, which bodes well for this bill that we are talking about. We also want to say, yes, as ANC, we support the BDS, that rights of the people to go and not buy in places like Catmarch, in places like Woolworth, which support Israel. Israel is racist, and therefore we want to say to the people of South Africa, let's all go out and support the bill. Amanda!
Amandla! Viva Palestine, viva! Viva Palestine, viva! Palestine shall be free from the river to the sea. Free, Marwan, free! Free, Marwan, free! Comrades, I stand in front of you on behalf of the economic freedom fighters, the political party that in 2023 tabled the resolution that the Israeli embassy must be closed down. That resolution was passed by an overwhelming majority by the National Assembly of the Republic of South Africa. That resolution was led by the Commander-in-Chief and the president of the Economic Freedom Fighters, President Julius Malema. We demand again today that apartheid Israel's embassy must be closed down. Every apartheid Israeli ambassador must be kicked out of South Africa. We say to President Cyril Ramaphosa, don't just talk, act. We demand from you to now make your undertaking right. But by the end of this year, this December, you will make a decision on kicking out apartheid Israel from South Africa. And we demand that you must implement the resolution of the National Assembly. The Economic Freedom Fighters support the Apartheid Punishment Bill. We support it because apartheid must be punished internationally, but it must also be punished right here in South Africa. There are many people still here in South Africa who continue to practice apartheid. There are many people still here in South Africa who continue to trade and do business with apartheid Israel. Yesterday, I was part of the committee of the National Assembly, the Joint Standing Committee on Defense, that visited the head office of Rheinmetall Denel Munitions here in Makassar. And we challenged RDM that they are manufacturing weapons of death that are being sold on to countries that distribute those weapons of death to apartheid Israel, to Ukraine, and to the Sudan. We said to them, if you continue like this, we will close you down. We demand that RDM's manufacturing of weapons of death and the export of those weapons of death to apartheid Israel must be banned right now. We demand that RDM must not be allowed to continue with the international exports. It is a contravention of the international laws that we have in support of armaments control. I want to conclude. The Economic Freedom Fighters has stood in front of the Israeli embassy in Pretoria, and we told the Israelis that your time had come, that the end is now, that we will not allow apartheid Israel to continue to function in South Africa. Therefore, we demand now a full economic boycott of all the products of apartheid Israel. We demand now that the position of the EFF that apartheid Israel should not be allowed to continue to exist in any way whatsoever in South Africa must be implemented. We stand with the people of Palestine. We stand with the future of a country that must be united. We stand with one united Palestine. Palestine shall be free from the river to the sea. Viva Palestine, viva! Viva Palestine, viva! Down with the butcher of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, down! Down with the butcher of apartheid Israel, Netanyahu, down! Down with Donald Trump, down! Down with Donald Trump, down! Palestine shall be free from the river to the sea. A luta continua. A luta continua. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. I've been given 2 minutes. I promise I'll stick to that. My name is Roscoe Palm. I'm a councillor in the Good Party. 55 years ago, or 52 years ago, 110 nations signed on to the Apartheid Convention, designating apartheid as a crime against humanity. This apartheid bill is historic because a crime against humanity committed anywhere can be prosecuted here. This bill will pass because 8 political parties came together in the spirit of humanity, guided by the people, guided by our humanity, guided by our shared vision of a just future for all, wherever they may be. I want to say to everybody here, thank you for not being fooled by a ceasefire that masquerades as the end of the genocide. Thank you for your support here today. And to not be fooled by the lies of Donald Trump and the fascist in the White House and the fascist Netanyahu. I want to end by saying that, and the fascist in the DA, which brings me on what I want to end with. Our political choices as voters, we have to link them to our morality as human beings. For too long, we've allowed organizations like the PSC to do the heavy lifting of carrying the moral conscience of our country. It's now time for political parties to enact progressive legislation like the apartheid bill. And even when that bill is passed, and this bill will pass, we must maintain the pressure on the presidency. That embassy in Pretoria is a troll factory masquerading as a diplomatic mission. We must stick to the decisions of Parliament and close that embassy. Thank you so much to the PSC. Thank you to everybody who is here today. And Palestine will be free. Free Marwan Barghouti. Free all political prisoners. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody. Can I get a round of applause for the political parties with a conscience? Thank you, guys. Thank you.
And prosecute our South African custody.
Okay. Can Matthew from Feed the Future please meet Zaira urgently? She's next to the stage. Matthew from Feed the Future. Next item is a cultural item. We've got Sunaria Barnes from the Cape Cultural Collective. She's going to be doing a reading of a poem for us today.
Free, free Palestine! Free, free, free Palestine! From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free! This poem is called Sunbirds Will Sing. When the day comes, and it will come, for the Freedom Feast, olives, hummus, and watermelons will adorn long tables, scattered with petals of purple irises, for the children of Gaza, for the people of Palestine, displaced no more. Sunbirds will carry songs over borders to all the corners where lovers of freedom reside. On the resurrected wall of bomb buildings, every name shall be inscribed. Each brick will honor the fallen. From the red-soaked earth, a carpet of flowers, poppies, chamomile, honeysuckle will blossom and spread. From the river to the sea, tyrants, take heed. Empires that plan to rule forever have crumbled into dust. Mountain gazelles run swiftly, leaping to catch their dreams. Like flowing water carves a path through rocks and boulders. Treasured long-held keys will unlock stolen doors. Sunbirds will sing because freedom cannot be caged forever. Thank you.
Thank you, Zanaria. Next up, we've got a few reflections from our partner organizations. We have over 30 organizations that have joined us here today that have endorsed this event, and we can only fit a few of the people on with our program for you today. From Housing Assembly, we've got Kenneth, Kenneth, I see you've gotten lost. Please make your way back to the stage. We've got Samar joining us from Healthcare Workers for Palestine, Aisha Begas from Mothers for Gaza, and Wendy Lewin from Christians for Free Palestine. And then we've got an unaffiliated Yusuf, the young gentleman that'd like to give us a moment of his time and tell you what's on his mind. You guys can all come up to the stage as well. Assalamu alaikum, which means peace be upon you. Unlike the speakers here, I normally just do school orals. But I have a message for three different kinds of people. The first person I would like to address is all the parents out there. Parents, please start boycotting. Please follow the BDS website. And also, tell your children about our history. Not only our history, but history in Palestine and South Africa. Because the same oppressors in South Africa are the same people who are oppressing Palestine. So for the second person I would like to address is the children. Guys, life isn't only about PlayStation, games, screens. There are other things. Guys, maybe next time keep joining your parents for these rallies and Palestinian events. Because PlayStation and screens, you can always do another time. And for the third person I would like to address is the people in Palestine. Guys, stay strong. I am truly sorry. I wish the world could have woken up earlier. And I wish there was something I could do to help you. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. Free Palestine, free Congo, free Sudan, and free all the countries who are currently being oppressed. The future is bright if this guy is in it. Can we have a round of applause for Yusuf, please? Thank you so much. We're going to sit and listen. Next.
Mandla. Amandla. Awetu Ngengane. My name is Kenneth Matawe and I'm representing the Housing Assembly. And we just want to share our solidarity today to the people of Palestine. First, comrades, we must be clear that in this genocide, in this war, there is no neutral position. And that everyone, your silence on this genocide is comparable to pro-genocide. Similarly, comrades, there is no neutral position on inequality or injustice that is happening right here in South Africa. For an example, we cannot sit quietly while ShopRite is increasing the already expensive electricity that people are suffering from. Secondly, comrades, right now with this genocide, with this war, again, it is the working class fighting the working class. It is not Trump, nor is it Netanyahu that picks up the gun that kills people. It's the very same working class people that are manufacturing, it's the very same working class people who are pulling the trigger, it's the very same working class people who are dying on the streets. We are fighting against ourselves, and this cannot continue. Secondly, comrades, with this genocide, the default doctors, the default medical staff, yet again, becomes the women of society. The ones who must be there, the social workers who absorb the trauma, the ones without which there can be no struggle for liberation. Lastly, comrades, solidarity is not charity.
Solidarity is about empowering the working class. It's about bolstering the strength of working class organs of power. We need to be very clear that not only are we anti-war, but we are in defense and in promotion of working class interests. Amanda, awethu ngenkani.
Good afternoon, everyone. I stand here before you today as a woman who refuses to believe that this broken world is the one our children must inherit. As a woman who knows deep in my bones that a better world is not only possible, it is necessary. We know the military tech being tested on Palestinians will never stay in Palestine. History teaches us that the tools of oppression are always exported. If we do not resist, then we will be next. And this week we witnessed something extraordinary. We witnessed the undeniable power of collective action as the Women for Change campaign rose up. They reminded us in South Africa that when women move together, the ground shifts. Today, on the International Day of Solidarity with the Palestinian people, I want us to speak honestly about what is happening inside Israeli detention facilities, because the world keeps trying to look away. The reports are clear. B'Tselem, Human Rights Watch, Amnesty International, the UN, Adamir, all of them tell the same story: a system of torture, humiliation, and deliberate dehumanization. This is not a few bad soldiers. This is policy. Almost 10,000 Palestinians are being held right now, many with no charge, no trial, no lawyer, no family contact. Since October 2023, at least 94 people that we know of have died in detention from abuse or medical neglect. Women and children are being targeted. Women have reported being stripped, assaulted, electrocuted, photographed naked, raped, even threatened with being buried alive. Mothers separated from their babies, women beaten with guns and tasers, held in filthy rooms with no water, no hygiene, no light, no safety. Children, some as young as 6, have been taken in night raids, beaten, stripped, interrogated alone. Save the Children found 86% were beaten, 69% stripped. Many threatened with sexual violence. Some are missing. One infant was forcibly transferred. These are war crimes. These are crimes against humanity. And the UN has now said openly that it is a de facto policy of organized and widespread torture. As Mothers for Gaza, we refuse silence, we refuse fear, and we refuse intimidation. We refuse to look away from children being tortured and women being violated simply because Israel insists the world must not see them as human. We stand for one truth: no mother's child is disposable. Not in Gaza, not in Sudan, not in Congo, and not in Cape Town. And we say, end administrative detention, end the occupation, return the mothers to the children, return the children to their families, free them all, every single one of them. Gaza will rise again, Palestine will be free, and until that day comes, we will hold the line. Because this is what mothers do. We protect the children of the world, even when the world refuses to. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Afternoon, everybody. I'm Dr. Samah Halbarai. I'm part of Healthcare Workers for Palestine, South Africa. And just to follow that, because I'm also a pediatrician, I also have to take a little bit of time to speak about kids. So in Gaza, we've had 23 months of an escalation in this genocide. We've had 20,000 children killed in 23 months of war. That's more than one child killed every hour. We've got 21,000, more than 20,000 children disabled, so one or more limbs. If you can just imagine the effects of that going in the future. We've got 18,700 children in the first 6 months of this year who've been treated for acute malnutrition. 58,000 children who've been orphaned by the Israeli genocide and who are at risk of abuse and at risk of being trafficked. And then we've got thousands of children that are trapped beneath the stones in their towns, homes, and schools,
structures flattened by Israeli bombs and destroyed by military operations. Then there's the children who've been detained and who have disappeared. Let's talk a little bit about child prisoners. So as Asha's mentioned, so before this, every year, approximately 500 to 700 Palestinian children, some as young as 10 to 12 years old, have been detained and prosecuted in Israel, the only country in the world to prosecute children under military rule. So what that means is that you don't have right to legal counsel. The military court can include confessions that are obtained by coercion, and including that their rights are severely restricted, which is completely against the conventions of the rights of children. The other continual, so that's in terms of children, going on to healthcare workers. So at the moment, we've had more than 1,700 healthcare workers who've died in the 23 months of escalation of genocide. At the moment, nearly 100 healthcare workers have been held captive, 80 from Gaza, but let's not forget the 15 held from the West Bank. These include physicians, nurses, paramedics, hospital staffs, pharmacists, technicians. According to a Healthcare Workers Watch, most healthcare workers were abducted by military while they were on duty. Dr. Hussam Abu Sufia, the director of Kamal Adwan Hospital in North Gaza, was arrested 27th of December after troops raided the hospital. The list that you can see online includes surgeons, pediatricians, nursing staff, critical care staff. This is a directed onslaught and attack on skilled physicians to try and basically render the healthcare service inoperable. There's 94% of hospitals in Gaza have been damaged or destroyed, and the stats in itself are just completely horrifying. Thanks, everybody.
Good afternoon, beautiful people. Peace be with you all. My name is Wendy and I'm a member of the South African Christians for a Free Palestine. Just this month, our Palestinian siblings in Christ have released a new Kairos document entitled A Moment of Truth, Faith in a Time of Genocide. It is a theological witness that names what is happening in Palestine as genocide and settler colonialism. It calls the global church to repentance for its silence and complicity. It challenges Christian Zionism as theological corruption, and it renews a commitment to steadfastness, hope, and the vision of a just peace built on equality for all who live in the land. It is their prophetic word to the church and the world, and I'd like to read just one paragraph from this document today. We address our appeal to Christians around the world. Excuse me. Genocide is a structural sin against God, against humanity, and against creation. It stands in direct opposition to the great commandment of love, the summary of the whole law. Those who deny the genocide committed against the Palestinian people in Gaza, despite the overwhelming evidence, testimonies, and even the statements of Zionists themselves, deny the very humanity of the Palestinian people. We have the right, therefore, to ask, how can one speak of Christian fellowship or communion while denying, supporting, justifying, or remaining silent before genocide, especially when such acts are committed in the name of God and Scripture? There must be honest reflection and repentance by all believers, especially by church leaders throughout the world. End quote. Professor Salim Munaya reminds us, Christian witness today will be measured not by institutional comfort, but by the courage to speak truthfully, defend human dignity, and stand with the oppressed. Silence is complicity. Action is discipleship. The church must choose courage. We join our voices with our Palestinian siblings and call the church to choose courage. Courage to name genocide and condemn it as a structural sin. Courage to reject Christian Zionism and name it theological and moral corruption. Courage to pressure governments for sanctions and arms embargoes and to push for the prosecution of war criminals. Courage to call for the release of all Palestinian prisoners still held hostage by Israel. Courage to reject any solutions that rest on the logic of force, not on the foundations of justice, equality, and the right to self-determination. Courage to stand with the oppressed and the least of these, even when it costs us. until justice flows like a river to the sea.
Thank you, everybody. So these are only a few of our partner organizations. I encourage everybody to get involved in a community organization, support the fight for the Palestinians by getting involved. It's lovely seeing you all here, but we also want to see, especially the young people, people who are under 30, who are under 40. You have the energy, you have the time. Let's put that energy and time to good use. Next up, we've got Tariq Jenkins. He's part of Save Our Sacred Souls. They are an organization based in Cape Town, and he's going to do a poem and something about Amazon for us as well.
Thank you, comrades. I belong to Save Our Sacred Lands, which is a progressive intersectional campaign which includes San and Khoi entities that are committed to the preservation of heritage resources under threat. Before I begin, I've been asked to recite this really beautiful poem by unionist, trade unionist, activist, and poet Baba Aye. And the poem is entitled, Fists Sing Today. What song can be sung when the echoes of death ring with no end? What is left of reason when the lived trauma of flesh torn of shreds, bones shattered and skins of children hanging on hungered bones dissolved in a genocidal pot of porridge, stewed with lies? What song could capture the spirit of an unbowed people, starved of hope by conniving powers in London and Washington? What song would speak of the dignity with which they wade through their blood to history? What macabre music is being played by accursed killers of children and women, men without honor, liars from the pit of hell? What macabre music with notes of rocket fire, bombs, bullets, and a rampaging hordes of shameless laughter? Its melody has an uncanny semblance to Auschwitz, and the blood-stained orchestra with the face Nuremberg at this time. We sing with our fists. Dirges alone would be emptied of meaning amidst unending killing, and rubble blotting the land of sight and tears, etching furrows of mourning on the faces of scarred mothers. Today, we sing for justice, for scores of thousands murdered since October, for a people wantonly massacred, displaced, tortured, and traumatized since the Nakba. Today, we fight till Palestine is free, and new olives flourish on its lush land, watered by the river and the sea in the spirit of liberty, solidarity, and equality. As Save Our Sacred Lands, one of our primary concerns is the desecration of environmental and heritage-sensitive resources of indigenous communities, not just here in South Africa, but also in Palestine. As an entity that represents progressive indigenous San and Khoi councils, revivalist entities of Africa, we stand in unwavering solidarity with the people of Gaza, for we intimately understand the pain of colonialism and the relentless struggle for justice. What is happening in Gaza and in the West Bank is nothing short of a genocide at the hands of the apartheid Zionist state of Israel, and an ongoing tragedy that we as indigenous communities cannot ignore. On the 1st of March 1510, the Portuguese d'Almeida tried to conquer the banks of the Lisbeth River and were fought off and were defeated by the San and Khoi. In the same precinct, at the confluence of the Lisbeth and Black River, the first largest company on earth, the Dutch East India Company, again took an interest on this terrain. Jan van Riebeeck, under the auspices of the Dutch East India Company, gifted Freeburger farmers land on either side of the Liesbeek River. They deployed Roman Dutch law, which was weaponized to justify the theft of indigenous land. It is here that Jan van Riebeeck placed a militarized barrack where he imported slaves who were forcefully removed from Java, Madagascar, Goa, East and West Africa, who tilled the topsoil because the Dutch could not have cheap local labor. And here, when land was taken for the first time in 1657 for commercial agricultural purposes, in 1659 the first Khoi Dutch Wars broke out. I make this analogy because those encampments, the first settler colonial encroachment on indigenous land, is also where the etchings of genocide occurred against the first people of our country. To date, 67,000 Palestinians in Gaza and over 20,000 children have been killed. The violence is backed by cloud computing technology from giant tech companies such as Google and Amazon. Amazon Web Services in 2025 has put up its African headquarters on the very same terrain that I'm speaking about. They are responsible for a $1 billion deal with the IOF, which supports the automated weaponry system that has been responsible for the catalytic effect of targeted citizens on a mass scale in ways that we have never seen in the history of militarization in mankind. It is very important for us to take and make the intangible enemy of giant tech a very tangible aspect of protest. Whenever you go on your phones and you look at books on Amazon Web Services, on Amazon Prime, understand and know that this support is fueling the back end of the automated weaponry system in Palestine. Amazon Web Services has contracts with MI5, MI6, the Pentagon. In effect, it is running what we would understand as the military-industrial complex. And our government must be charged with the responsibility of boycotting, divesting, and sanctioning Amazon, including other giant tech, such as Google, Microsoft, and Checkpoint, an Israeli company, an IT company that runs the back end of a number of government departments, including the South African Police Service, the Treasury, and various other departments. So on behalf of Save Our Sacred Lands, we would say, Atua Atamak Kamske, which means the struggle continues. Let us make this intangible enemy the most tangible, focused spot for us to boycott, to divest, and to sanction. Amandla!
Thank you, Tariq. Continuing on the theme of boycott, divestment, and sanctions with Shania. She's a former PSC member, and she's going to be talking to us about the BDS list.
Free, free! Free, free! Comrades, it feels in moments like this that we have no power, but that's not true. The BDS stands for boycotts, divestments, and sanctions. It's very, very important not only to come out to rallies like this, but to use our purchasing power as consumers to stop normalizing economic relations with Israel. The boycott, divestment, and sanctions campaign in South Africa talks about targeted boycotting campaigns, which means that there is a list. You can find it on the BDS website, and I will name a few now. First is Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola has operations that manufacture in occupied Palestinian territories. Second is McDonald's, which we know gives free food to the Israeli occupation forces. Third, which is very close to home, is the Cape Union Mart Group. That's not just Cape Union Mart, that includes poetry, that includes Old Khaki. The owner, Philip Kravitz, is a renowned Zionist who continues to use the profits made at Cape Union Mart to fund
the occupation in Palestine to fund groups that support the Israeli illegal settlements. The third is HP and SodaStream. The fourth is Airbnb and Bookings.com, which allow you to purchase property and to stay in accommodation in illegal Israeli settlements. It's incredibly important that we stop normalizing economic relations with Israel. The second thing that we have to do is support and actively lobby for divestment and sanctions against Israel. Comrade Martin and Comrade Yusuf have already spoken about how South Africa still has not expelled the Israeli ambassador. In the ICJ case in 2024, South Africa took up the case that asked the ICJ to give a determination on whether or not there is genocide happening in Palestine. The ICJ has issued an opinion saying that not only is there plausible genocide happening in Gaza right now, but it is illegal under international law to support that. That means that we have to make sure that we expel all Israeli diplomats, all Israeli embassies from South Africa. The second important step in anti-normalization is to stop selling arms to Israel, to stop selling coal that organizes to weaponize and to genocide Palestinian people. So as we leave today's rally, it's very, very important that we know that we can do something and that we must do something. We must use our economic power to cut ties with Israel and to put pressure on companies that normalize these ties. Free, 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 from the river to the sea. What do we want? BDS. When do we want it? Now. What do we want? When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want? When do we want it? Amandla.
Thank you all for still being here. We are coming to the end of our program. We have one last speaker. The point of today is solidarity with the people of Palestine and solidarity with prisoners, hostages that are held in Israeli jails. And the one we have decided to highlight today is Marwan Barghouti, a 66-year-old political leader who has been imprisoned for 23 years in Israeli prisons for the crime of standing up for Palestinian people. On that topic, we've got Neil Coleman, a veteran activist and trade unionist, here to speak to us about political detainees.
Amandla, free, 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 free. Thanks, comrades. I know it's been a long day. I'm going to talk to you briefly about one of the greatest human rights violations happening today, namely the abuse, torture, and murder of Palestinian prisoners and detainees in Israeli prisons and jails. To put the extent of these crimes into perspective, despite the release of around 2,000 Palestinian prisoners and detainees under the October the 10th ceasefire, over 9,000 and possibly over 10,000 prisoners and detainees are, as we meet, facing torture, starvation, abuse, and even murder in Israeli dungeons. I will talk more about some of the details just now. First, though, it's important to mention the parallels with South Africa. Exactly 40 years ago, around 10,000 of us were detained under the apartheid state of emergency. Thousands more were detained in the years that followed. Hundreds were tortured, and a number were killed. As ex-political prisoners and detainees, we have a moral obligation to defend our Palestinian brothers and sisters. Comrades, I was asked to look after Comrade Mandela when he was released from prison in 1990. On one occasion, he said to me, "We need to support the Palestinians in their struggle for liberation, because without their freedom, none of us will be free." something he repeated in subsequent years. Recent events show how prophetic these words were. It is difficult to grasp the extent of the crimes being committed today in Israeli prisons and jails, in part because of the lengths the Israelis are going to hide the horrific abuses. But much of what I'm about to say has been carefully researched and documented by the United Nations and international human rights organizations, as well as organizations in Palestine and Israel, such as Adamir and the Israeli Physicians for Human Rights. The scale of the crisis in Israeli prisons and jails mirrors the impunity with which the regime has committed genocide in Gaza and is terrorizing residents of the West Bank. Some of the same methods are used in the prisons to terrorize and break the detainees. And by the way, it's claimed that the detainees and prisoners are Hamas fighters, but the documented evidence is that only a small portion of those in detention in Israeli prisons and jails are actually fighters. These methods that they're using include starvation, abuse, and torture, as well as killing. The horrific reality, though, is that while Palestinian residents in Gaza and the West Bank may be, if they are lucky, escape the IDF attacks, there is no escape for prisoners who are at the mercy of psychopathic jailers committing the most extreme acts. The regime has passed laws to enable this, and the far-right fascist security minister, Ben Gvir, who is himself a convicted criminal, has instructed the jailers intensify the abuse. So what abuses are they committing? We published a memorandum yesterday, which is also available, for example, on my X timeline, which draws on extensive evidence documented by human rights organizations, which documents the fact that they are experiencing the following. Firstly, direct torture and violence against detainees in interrogation and in the course of their custody, including waterboarding, beatings, leading to severe injuries, including the loss of eyesight, loss of hearing, and so on. Something that's too horrific to contemplate, the rape of both men and women. Thirdly, abusive conditions of custody, including being handcuffed and blindfolded, forced to stay in unnatural and painful positions for long periods, being kept naked, being kept in cages, and so on. Even the use of animals to terrorize or abuse detainees. There are other forms of abuse and mistreatment of Palestinian prisoners and detainees. These include, comrades from EFF, the deliberate starvation or severe undernourishment of prisoners. Secondly, the deliberate neglect of ill and injured prisoners, refusal of treatment, and their shackling to beds. Many amputations have been reported, including as a result of handcuffing, the use of medical procedures without painkillers, psychological abuse, including holding of prisoners underground, and various other techniques to disorient them, including sleep deprivation to break them mentally. Inevitably, because of these extreme abuses, many prisoners have died since October the 2023. Some have been executed, some have died from torture, and some from neglect or lack of medical treatment. The full extent of these murders of Palestinian prisoners and detainees, because that's what it is, murder, has only recently emerged. Compared to the period 1967 to October 2023, when an average of 5 Palestinian detainees were killed each year, we estimate that at least 100 Palestinian prisoners and detainees have been killed each year since October the 7th, and that the total is likely to be somewhere between 200 to 400 murdered. Previous estimates of deaths of Palestinian prisoners and detainees by human rights organizations have been between 75 and 98 up until September 2025. But with the handover of over 350 Palestinian corpses by the Israelis in terms of the October the 10th ceasefire agreement, a different picture emerge as human rights organizations start to collect more evidence. Although we must remember, the Israelis still continue to hold many more dead Palestinians as hostages, up to and possibly over 1,500. More dead detainees have been identified, in particular by Adamir, the Palestinian human rights organizations, who have identified over 150 dead prisoners. Organizations agree that the actual figure is certainly much higher, as many of the remains returned in terms of the ceasefire agreement were handcuffed, blindfolded, shot, or tortured. The detail is contained in our memo, but we estimate that the real figure of killed Palestinian prisoners and detainees is somewhere between 200 and 400 Palestinian prisoners and detainees killed by the Israelis. This is horrifying. But possibly even worse than this is that the crimes committed to be perpetrated every day, despite the so-called ceasefire, and the Israelis seem to enjoy total for these acts. As we sit here today, thousands of men, women, and children are being starved, abused, maimed, tortured, and raped, and many more will die unless we do something to stop this. For some perspective, in the entire apartheid period, 73 South African prisoners died in detention. In the 2 years since October the 7th alone, at least 3 times that number of Palestinian prisoners, at least 3 times the number of South African detainees who were killed have been killed in Israeli jails. So it was only mobilization by South Africans and the international campaign to isolate and punish the apartheid regime that prevented more widespread killings in South Africa. We have to do the same to the Israeli regime. So just briefly, what can we do? Firstly, as South Africans, we must intensify the campaign to stop the abuse of and murder of Palestinian prisoners and detainees. Secondly, as former South African prisoners and detainees, we need to hold this banner high. Thirdly, we are launching an international campaign, as from this week, and speaking to key international organizations and actors, including governments, United Nations agencies, political movements, and so on, to escalate this issue to the top of the international agenda. Fourthly, we will work with Palestinian and Israeli human rights organizations. And fifthly, the International Committee of Justice, the ICJ, ruled that the International Committee of the Red Cross must immediately be given access to inspect all Israeli prisons and jails. And of course, the Israelis are arrogantly refusing to allow that. But they must be made to pay a high price, and we need to escalate this campaign for the ICRC to have access to inspect all Israeli prisons and jails. And of course, finally, we need to intensify the campaign to boycott, divest, and sanction the Israeli regime. Amandla.
Where to?
Thank you, everybody. That is the conclusion of our program for today. I hope that you have learned something, empowered yourself, and that you take that knowledge and disperse it in your community. For those who are asking what next, we have a whole lineup of programs coming up this week. On Monday, the 1st of December, we'll be having a slave walk. You can join our social medias and get detail about that. On Tuesday, 10 o'clock in the morning, at Kirstenbosch Gardens, we will be protesting the inclusion of the Kiflis in the summer concert program. He has platformed himself as a right-wing, Islamophobic, anti-Palestinian celebrity, and we declare that these elements cannot be celebrated, cannot be platformed, and we won't stand for it. Join us 10 o'clock Tuesday to stand against the inclusion of Kiflis. On Thursday, 4th of December, healthcare workers will be having various protests outside hospitals in the Western Cape, Gauteng, and other provinces. Find a hospital, northern suburbs, southern suburbs, city bowl, rural towns. There's a protest for everybody. Look at healthcare workers to find the closest protest and join. And then on Saturday, the 6th of December, we'll be having the Emancipation Echoes concert at Alexander Sinton. Make sure you get your tickets and come and join us for an afternoon of cultural activities and solidarity. Thank you so much. Have a good evening. please make sure that you pick up any litter around you, and let's leave this place as clean as when we found it. Thank you.
Free Palestine.
Stand up tall, this is a wake up call. Never again, never again, never again for all. To all the people in Gaza, even though we live far from each other, your pain is my own pain. All for one, no all for her. Free Palestine, free Palestine, free Palestine, free Palestine. No more murder, no more lies, no more murder, no more lies. Free Palestine, free Palestine. Freedom is our destiny. Gotta make a choice, better be on the right side of history. No one can be free till we all are free. Enough is enough. We gotta stop the genocide. Free Palestine. Free Palestine. Free Palestine. Free Palestine. No more murder, no more lies. No more murder, no more lies. Free Palestine. Palestine.
Signing up here from Cape Town, Seapoint.